folks, Rich here at RCINFORMER.com. Thanks for checking out this video on the ROC HOBBY 2.2 meter V-TAIL glider from MOTIONRC. This is another MOTIONRC exclusive, so the only place to get it is MOTIONRC.com, so check it out there. They got lots of specs and pictures to take a look at. I did make a separate flying video of this airplane just to shorten the length of my videos a little bit. I will put a link at the end that you can click on and it'll take you straight to it. Or just check out RCINFORMER on YouTube, RCINFORMER.com, and RCINFORMER on Facebook, and all the videos will be up there as well. Overall, guys, this is a really nice package. Super nice flying glider. And I think that mostly comes from how clean and how well designed this thing is. I noticed as soon as I took it out of the box, it has a very nice clean EPO finish that's very glassy. And this flat sticker finish that they put on here, these flat stickers are so nicely applied from the factory with this flat finish on it. They put them on there so well. This thing is so clean and very good looking with all the decals that they put on it. It's just a very, very slick airplane, which explains why it glides so well. Building this thing is a piece of cake. 2 screws, 2 pins, and 6 horns and rods, and you're done and ready to fly. No glue whatsoever at all. The wing is put together with aluminum spar that you plug in, and you pop these 2 little pins in place. Put a screwdriver in there and you pop them out of place, so you don't even need to screw to get the wings in. This disassembles real nicely to fit into your car, and it takes up minimal space. I get it in the back of mine without needing to fold down seats and that kind of thing. The tail is put on with the 2 screws right here with this really nice plastic doubler that form fits and plugs in, and there's 2 fiberglass spars that run side to side on these V-tails, so this V-tail is really tough. Once you get the 6 horns on and the 6 rods, you're finished with this airplane, and it's ready to go out to the field. It thermals real well. We took it out there. I've been taking it out there actually quite a bit lately because everybody wants to fly the thing. I hand this plane off to everybody at the field, and it stays up there for maybe a half hour or so, 15 minutes to a half hour, and everybody gets a turn flying this thing. And that's the beauty of it, is you really can hand it to almost anybody, especially if you have somebody that's new to the hobby. It's very forgiving, and it's just a real easy flyer. It's very aerobatic as well. If you want to do rolls, it does nice smooth rolls. You do have to use some negative elevator when you're upside down to keep it from losing altitude, but it'll do a nice smooth slow roll. It does nice smooth big loops. It'll even fly inverted, even though that's not something a glider will do, but I usually do that just to see how well the airplane does it. Overall, guys, it does everything really nicely. One thing I do want to mention about the control system on this airplane is they did put flaps on the airplane, which is really almost necessary for this kind of plane. It glides so well that it's actually difficult to land without flaps because it will just float and float and float down the runway. It's hard to get the airplane to come down. And that's what you really want to use the flaps for on this airplane. I come in at a high altitude without flaps, and I have a hard time getting down to the end of our 800 field runway before reaching the end of the fence. But if you drop the flaps down all the way, full flaps, it comes right in and lands like any other airplane does. In fact, I find myself having to add power to keep it from sinking so quickly. So use the flaps for landing, and it lands like any other airplane. They did a really nice job with the single wheel under the front for landing on grass, and they put these really nice plastic skid pads under each wingtip and one on the tail, which you'll see a little closer up in the video. But it really protects the airplane well for landing on grass surfaces. Overall, guys, this video is going to be a little bit more of a review and a little bit less of a build. I'm going to talk a little bit about putting it together just because it's such an easy thing to put together, and there really wasn't too much trouble getting this thing together. There's 1 or 2 caveats in there that I found with mine that I think was specific to mine, not the plane itself, but and I'll show you what I'm talking about in the video. But again, flying this plane, guys, is fantastic. This plane does make use of the folding propeller and the braking feature on the ESC. So you add full throttle, the prop blades spin out, plane flies, climbs way high up in the air, guys, with lots of power. It gets up into the air real quick, and then you throttle back to idle. The prop brake stops the propeller, and the prop blades fold back, and now you're gliding around. Anytime you need power, you apply power, prop comes back out again. So really nice powered glider. They did give you a really nice cockpit as well that opens up to the battery compartment and everything, and they gave you a really slick pilot in there with a nice instrument panel as well. So really overall impressed with that, and I'll show you all this stuff close up a little more closely in the video. Anyway guys, without further delay, let's get on with the review. Starting off the review of the 2200mm VTail glider from MOTIONRC. Again, this is a ROC HOBBY airplane made by FMS. Here's the box, how it arrived to me in the mail. Everything looks like it's nice and clean with no damage. Let's go ahead and open it up and take a look inside. With the outer box removed, it reveals a really nice colorful box from ROC HOBBY. Again, this is an FMS brand. You can see all the specs of the airplane right on there. It's a huge box, about 4.5 feet long, and it barely fits inside my camera frame. But anyway, nice packaging. Let's go ahead and get the outer box off and see the parts inside. With the box top removed, it reveals all the parts inside. There's a real nice foam crate that really protects everything well. Everything's nicely individually bagged, as you can see here, to avoid any damage. Again, this is a huge box, guys, barely fits inside my camera frame. Let's go ahead and get all the parts out and we'll lay them out for you. Here's the layout of all the parts that came out of the box. Overall first impression is everything is just super nice quality. The foam, the EPO has a very nice finish to it, and the decals are applied nicely, and just real impressed overall with everything. Starting at the top here, we have the fuselage with a pilot installed in there, motor installed, ESC, and it's pretty much ready to have everything bolted onto it. We also have the two main wing panels with aileron and flap servos already installed. And you can see here the two halves of the VTail fins with servos installed as well. Main spar, bag of parts, which has horns, clevises, push rods, things like that, and an Enrich Power 1300 milliamp pack that I got for the airplane. Overall, guys, it looks real nice. Now let me give you a closer look at some of the parts and show you some of their features. Starting off with the fuselage, real nice quality, guys. This thing is super clean and very, very streamlined. As I'll sort of move along the back here, you can see a couple of wing bolt holes where the wing secures on the middle. And as I move along the back, you can see here there's a little bit of either a screw-in spar area for the VTail and a little bit of weight as well. And as I rotate this around, you can see here they've actually built in a real nice tail skid here. It's just a piece of, looks like a little piece of plastic that they put on there to kind of help protect the foam for you know, the landings that you make and so forth. Coming up to the underside here, you can see there is a cooling hole, an exhaust exit to let all the air out to help cool the ESC, and one wheel underneath that's fixed for doing landings with. The intake scoop is right here, so you can see they've thought it out pretty decently. Air enters through here for the motor and ESC, and comes out the back hole here. Folding prop, which is what we're going to use the braking feature for on your ESC. So as the propeller spins, okay, and propels the airplane, as soon as the prop brakes, stops and brakes, the prop folds back, and now we can glide back to Earth. A couple things they thought about real nicely too. A couple holes here in the side. This is because the motor is shaft mounted, so there's actually a screw in there and a screw in this side that lets you get the motor off real easy. So real nice thinking putting this thing together, because it does allow you to service it. Pilot looks like nice detail. Funny looking hat, but we'll let him fly anyway. As we look inside, you can see everything's magnetic. The canopy's magnetic. It's a real nice battery strap on here, and it's secured to the bottom, so plenty of room for the 1300 milliamp pack, or even something if larger if you want to. 35 amp ESC, everything's all installed. Pretty typical for FMS. They have all the wires labeled: throttle, elevator, aileron, and so forth. So anyway, guys, real clean setup, a real nice fuselage. This thing should be really efficient when we get it out to the field and fly it. A+ for this thing, because it's just a really super high quality part. Here's a look at one of the wing panels. Real impressive, nice and smooth finish on this thing. The stickers that they put on here are really nicely applied. Really nice quality, sort of a flat finish sticker, and the foam itself just has a real smooth finish. I thought I'd show you what the wing spar looks like. It's kind of nice. It's hollow, but it's almost totally solid. You can see there's just a small hole through it. And they actually put a center point on here, this little piece of plastic here. And you can see that this fits really nicely into there, and that's pretty much how you join the wings, and it's a pretty simple installation. But as you can see from this shot here, again, all your servos are installed for your ailerons and your flaps. Also, everything's foam hinged along here and already ready to go. Out here on the wingtip, another wingtip skid, which is real nice. So when you come to a landing on the center wheel, as the wing approaches the ground, you have something to contact the ground instead of scraping up the wing. Another nice thing I noticed, FMS has changed a lot of their linkages, and they're going to a much bigger, much more heavy-duty control horn on the wing. And they've included that with this airplane. So all the new big, tougher linkages that they're using. And here's where your wires exit, and they connect all in the center. You have a couple of holes here where the wings will actually join together in the center. But anyway, real impressed with this wing, guys. It's very large. Again, I'm having a hard time keeping it in the frame, but it just has a very clean finish, and it is pretty much bolt on, so there's really going to be very little, very short assembly time getting this airplane together. Here's a quick look at one of the VTail fins. Again, foam hinges, new horn design here for the back, and a servo mounted there for one for each side. You can see here, again, this is a nice thing that ROC Hobby does. Each servo is labeled with the voltage, the torque, and the speed, which is really nice that they include that in there. You can see here that there's two spar pockets, because this is all going to fit together in a VTail configuration, and they've actually given you two little fiberglass spars in the bag to get these two halves together. Nicely applied decal, and again, really clean finish, guys. Super nice quality on this thing. Here's the layout of all the parts that were in the parts bag. As you can see, everything's very organized, and it really helps you get this airplane together quickly. As you can see here, they label everything nicely. Here's the ailerons and the flap linkages, and everything's already built for you. You can see the rods, the clevises are already connected, and fuel tubing is already applied for everything. And you can see the nice new bigger style horns, which are really tough. Again, they give you a screwdriver. These are wing pins. These are spars for the tail section, and the servo cover for the tail servos that really kind of streamline and clean up the back of the plane. One nice thing that comes with that ROC Hobbies is supplying is also a spare parts bag. So they give you some spare clevises, some spare horns, and some fuel tubings, just in case you need to replace one, or maybe one was molded badly by the factory. But they always give you a couple spares that will keep you going. Last but not least, supplied from ROC Hobbies, a really nice instruction manual. This is really where the quality of the FMS manufacturing shines through with this airplane. Some of the best instructions around. You can see everything's very detailed. It reads well, and very nice pictures and real nice descriptions on how to put everything together. You can see on this page they supply you with a really good center of gravity. As I test fly the plane and get it out there, I'll report on that and let you know how that works out. But usually all the FMS stuff, the CG works out real nice. This page, for example, they show you which hole to use in the horn, which is real nice. That just kind of eases thing and takes sort of the question marks out of the assembly process. But overall, really nice quality. And here's another look. Take a look at this page. They also give you control throws, ailerons, elevator, rudder, flaps, and high and low rate suggestions. So Again, very thorough, real nice manual for getting the plane flying quickly. Also, real typical of FMS manuals, and the ROC Hobby brand here is no different. It's translated over to this where they supply it with a real nice ESC manual, just in case you need to reprogram something or change a low voltage cutoff, or at a later date you end up using a speed controller in another airplane or something that you have a manual to program it with. Anyway, that's pretty much the layout of all the parts with the airplane, guys. Now we're going to go ahead and get it together for you. And if we have any comments, suggestions, changes, or improvements, we'll be sure to point them out in this video. One thing I like to do when setting up all these models initially is to use a servo tester with everything selected to neutral. And what I will do with regards to getting the wing set up is, you can see all your horns are kind of twisted and they're angled down, and what I want to do is make sure that they are in their neutral position. So by taking a servo tester and setting it to neutral, you can go ahead and individually just plug in each one of your servos, and you can see right there, you can verify that your horn is generally in the neutral position. And if it's not, you may need to remove it and put it in where it is neutral. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the flap servo. See, I'll go ahead and I'll connect it here and make sure it's neutral. And sometimes you can have this in a neutral position again where it's not quite where it needs to be, and in that case you would take a screwdriver, and this is a real nice feature that FMS does for you, is if it's not where it needs to be, you can use this little slot, and you can go ahead and you can put your screwdriver all the way through there and line it up with your screw and unscrew the horn, get the horn out, and then put it back on where you need to, and then reinsert the screw. So that's a real nice feature from ROC Hobby and FMS that allows you to get the horn off and neutralize all your horns if you need to. When joining the wing panel, I ran into one small snag. Now this may be something that's specific to my plane. Maybe at the factory they just had a little hiccup, but if you run into this problem with yours, this is a real easy way to fix it. What I found was this little piece of metal here was not allowing the wing to completely seat. So as I push this together, it would stop right about here. And I think what's happening is again, this little metal piece, and I'll zoom in on that, is sticking out a little bit too far. Now you need to have the washer in there, this washer here, to prevent the spar from sliding way down the wing. And you can see on this side, the metal washer is, or the metal piece right down in there is ground flush, or actually a little recessed to this piece of plastic. So what I'm going to use very carefully, because you don't want to heat the metal up too much, is just a Dremel bit, just to kind of very carefully grind that metal away. Now you don't want to, again, you don't want to heat the metal up too much because you can start melting the foam, but as you grind it down, if it gets too hot, just stick an ice cube on it, cool it down, and then start grinding it. But you want to grind that metal down enough, at least probably flush with this plastic, that it makes room for that washer, that spacer there, and then this whole thing should slide together nicely. Here's a quick look at the inner wing spar box there. You can see it right in there that I ground away. I also did it to this side here as well. I ground this side down just a little bit, and the end result is pretty nice. You can see here, now we can go ahead and slide both wings together, and they fit nice and flush. And the real check that you have to look at is to make sure that these holes all line up so everything will go through. Again, guys, this is something that probably maybe one or two models every now and then they get one out of alignment, or maybe just didn't get that spar box far enough into the wing. So you're probably not going to have this problem with it. It was probably more or less something that was unique to mine. But if you do run into this problem, just a Dremel tool with a little bit of a grinding stone on there will help you get this thing together, and you'll be able to and make sure your holes line up, and you'll be ready to go. One tip to use when lining up your wings, it's a real good idea to use this exhaust hole to look through here, and you can see that your aileron and flap wires are coming through the hole and they're not binding up. And I think they may have strategically located this here, but as you can see on this side as well, it's a real good idea, a good place to look to make sure that you're not pinching any of those wires on the inside when you install your wing. Here's a real important note regarding installing your V-tail. When you put these together, there's going to be two screws that are going to go through these two holes here, and they're going to thread into this metal beam right here, and that's going to hold it in place. But it's real important when you run your wires for your servos that you run a piece of tape, and you can see I put a piece of tape right across here to separate these wires, because you can see that screw is going to come right through here and here. And this forward one here, if you don't have these taped down, as you install this thing, you could end up damaging the servo wires by running the screw through this hole. So again, make sure you put a piece of tape here and keep these wires separated and away from the screw that's going to come through that hole. Here's a look at the VTail mechanism here, and you can see I already attached one side here with the servo horn, the linkage, the clevis, and the horn on the elevator itself. One thing that I did want to point out is before I put the other side on, I thought I would show you the difference in the screws here. And this will apply to the ailerons, the elevator, and the flaps as well. But you notice your front screw is going to be longer because it's thicker than your rear screw. Your rear screw is going to be a shorter screw. So just keep in mind that you know, as far as these ROC Hobby airplanes go, they usually give you a different size screw for the front screw, which is usually longer, and a shorter one for the rear screw. You want to make sure you get those in the right place. Also, as you get this thing out of the bag, your servo horn has a really tiny screw. You just want to make sure you don't lose those, and that's what you're going to put in the servo. Here's a close-up of the servos and the V-tail linkages on this V-tail glider. It's a really nice setup back here. You do have to put these two horns on right after you put this plastic doubler plate. This thing has a couple of pins here and here that actually press down into the foam, and then these two screws screw down into a spar, actually a metal spar that's actually underneath here. So it's a real secure setup. Real nice big horns back here, nice big clevises and fuel tubing that they provide for everything, and again, just two screws to put this whole thing down in place. There are two fiberglass spars running back here as well, so this is a real solid and a really nice working setup for this airplane. Here's a quick look at the hatch cover, and inside the battery compartment there's this little piece of tape that they put on here for you to get the hatch off, and that just simply kind of flaps around there. Inside you can see lots of space for battery in here. They also put this nice ledge right here, so whether you're flying 1300 milliamp pack, 18 or 2250 or even bigger, you should be able to put it in here and put it up against this ledge, and this ledge will keep the battery from shifting backwards. I did put my ESC on this sidewall here, and I put it in with my own Velcro. Just to keep it away from the battery and just keep it kind of organized. You do want to be careful not to block the cooling hole with the battery too much, although there really shouldn't be that problem. You can see how I routed these wires just to sort of keep them out of the way of that hole. As you can see down here in the back, there's plenty of space here to put a receiver almost anywhere you want. So if you want to put it on the sidewall or you want to put it on the bottom, it'll go almost anywhere. And there's plenty of space back here, and you can see I taped one of my antennas to the back wall there, and one of them to the sidewall back there. So lots and lots of space back there. You can see all the wires are back there as well. But anyway, guys, a really nice battery compartment, a very simple layout, and lots of space to put everything in there. Nice latching canopy to keep everything in place. When it comes to batteries for this plane, you have lots and lots of options. I've been running this Enriched Power 1300 and 1800 pack that I got from MOTIONRC, and you can see there's plenty of room in there. 1300 is more than enough power to fly the plane up to altitude several times and glide the airplane back down. I also went as big as these 3-cell 2100s. This is what I actually used in the ROC Hobby F-16 as well, and you can see plenty of room inside here. Even if you wanted to go a little bigger, you could even get away with it because the battery compartment is a nice size. Just keep in mind, the lighter the airplane and the lighter the battery, the overall better gliding that you're going to get out of the airplane, but also the less motor runtime you're going to have. When putting this glider together at the flying field, I found it's best if you install the left wing first and then the right. You can see how they plug in. The left wing comes in over the top, and the right wing comes in under the bottom, and they just sort of plug together. And if you put the bottom wing in first, you actually block the hole underneath where all the wires go. As you can see here, once you connect the wires for your left wing, it's much easier to just kind of grab your wires, put them through there, and actually pull them through this side. And then once you push your wing in, you can see down into the slot where you now have this open pocket under here that you normally would have blocked all this space by putting the other wing in first. Then you can just leave your two leads out for your other wing, and it's much easier right now to tuck everything inside here. And the next step is to get your spar in there, and then you can put the right wing on real easy and then tuck these wires in. As you can see here with the other leads connected now to the right wing, you can go ahead and insert the spar into your other wing, and now it's a lot easier, like I said, to tuck these wires into this little slot that you see down here, and then just slowly kind of feed the wing in, tucking those wires, pushing them underneath, and getting them into place. Once both wings are fully seated, the other thing you can do is you can actually take all four leads and very carefully just sort of pull them out of this cooling hole. And this cooling hole does double as a good inspection hole. And by looking in both sides, by looking in this thing, you can see and make sure with 100% certainty that you're not pinching any wires. And then you can also double check the connections. And then once you're sure everything's seated, you don't have any pinched wires, you can just very carefully sort of tuck this stuff all back in here. I'd probably push it towards the back so you're not blocking the cooling hole. But this is a real great way to make sure, again, that you're not pinching any wires in the middle here. Once you have the wings installed on this plane, they give you these two special wing pins to keep the wing in place. And you can see right here that you literally just take them like this and you pop them in place, and that keeps the wing in there. To get them off, you just stick a screwdriver or anything like a pin and just stick it in there, and you just pull them straight out and pop them out of place. One thing I found with these is sometimes I tend to lose track of these things, and they're probably relatively easy to lose. So here's the solution I came up with as a way to keep from losing them. Keep in mind, this is just a suggestion, but it's worked out pretty good for me. When you're done with these pins, done flying for the day, what I've been doing is taking one of my tail linkages and just popping one of them off, and then I go ahead and I take both of my pins and I put them on here, and I put the linkage back on. I secure my clevis here, get that on there. It's harder to do when I'm filming this stuff, but and then the linkages will just pretty much kind of stay right here with the airplane. So I found that I haven't lost the pins this way, and if I put the plane away for a little while and I go to get it later, I'm not searching around for the pins. They're always attached to the airplane. Here's a suggestion I have for helping to keep the spinner in place. This thing is designed just to kind of clip right on. This whole motor, spinner, and propeller package come pre-installed on the plane, but all you have to do, like the instructions say, is squeeze this thing right here, and the whole spinner comes off, and that's all that holds it on. It's just these two lips here that that hook onto these little edges right here, and by squeezing this propeller or hub, or spinner, you can see that it actually just widens those. So I found this to be a little loose when I first had it on the airplane as it came in the box. But what I found is if you're very careful with this thing, if you squeeze the plastic, flex it this way a little bit, and you got to be careful not to break it, you'll actually bring these two tabs actually closer together. And then when you go to put the spinner on, it will actually kind of snap into place much tighter, and it'll really help keep it on. And to get the spinner off, you just, again, squeeze it this way and it'll come right off. But I have found squeezing it and flexing it a little bit will help it snap on and keep the spinner on there much tighter. One suggestion that I have for the glider is to put something on the bottom of it that makes it easier to see. When the airplane is way high up in the sky, the whole bottom of it is white, and it can make it difficult to see if you're really way up there. So what I did is I just took some of this sticker trim material. You can use paint or whatever you want, and just somehow mark the bottom of the wing so you can see the underside of it while you're up there thermaling. A darker color probably works best, but really anything will work. I even put a small one on the tail just to kind of help see it a little better. And actually, this will actually help you actually to fly the airplane even higher if you want to. But anyway, guys, for visibility and so you don't lose track of the plane in the sky, it's not a bad idea to mark the bottom of the wing with something that's more visible. Okay, folks, that concludes this video on the ROC HOBBY 2.2 meter V-TAIL glider from MOTIONRC. The ROC HOBBY brand is being made by FMS, which explains why the quality and the flight performance of it is so good, because FMS is just making some really nice stuff. The ROC HOBBY brand, again, you can only find it at MOTIONRC.com, so check out MOTIONRC.com to check out this airplane. I hope you guys found the video helpful and informative. As you can see, the plane goes together really well, and it goes together really fast, and it's just a great overall package. It just flies great. Anyway, guys, once again, check out RC Informer on YouTube. Check out RCINFORMER.com. Please subscribe. It helps us out. And RC Informer on Facebook as well if you want to see sort of more current information. I try and put really day-to-day, daily stuff that I'm doing on there, and what other reviews that you can expect to see. Anyway, guys, once again, thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.